Hey, it's Drybear. Today I put out a poll going over what people are working on in the First Descendant, and it brings up a great topic that I want to talk about today. So the poll was centered around which answer best represents your current goals in the First Descendant, and learning the game was actually at a solid 2%, which means most of the people that are responding to this poll, at least in my audience, are people that have either been to end game and exited, or are at end game right now, and they're sitting and farming. They're kind of finished it out. So it's mostly end game players. 49% are farming Descendants and weapons, 23% are in complete maintenance mode. And what I mean by this is that they're just logging in, doing their invasions, making sure their catalysts are cooking, and then logging off. They're not really doing anything. They have no targets, and they're not farming anything. They're just maintaining whatever the minimum requirement is, and then they're logging off and doing other things with their life or playing other games. And then 26% have either stopped playing or never heard of it. And this has brought up a bunch of conversations in my live stream and also around in the community that I want to address today around where the game is headed, where we're at right now in the life cycle of the game, and also what's riding on this up next patch, the October 10th update that has new content in it. Because the sentiment I'm seeing a lot of right now is that the number of players that are available for matchmaking is dwindling, that the amount of people you're seeing in Albion is declining, the amount of available players for getting into dungeons, infiltrations, and void intercepts is declining as well. There's also a lot of people that say that they're losing the desire to log into TFD, not necessarily that they don't like the game anymore, they're just running out of stuff to do. There's not enough to farm, there's not enough goals to be set for, or they're already burned through the content. They've got to Mastery 26, or they're very close to it. They've got all the weapons and characters that they want. They've got the abilities and everything maxed out, and they're looking for something else to do. And I think that a lot is riding on this up next October 10th update to fill that gap, because if that patch falls short and we don't get the value that we need from that update, it's not going to be until December that we get another chance at that. Now, it's worth mentioning that the First Descendant is actually in a very stable spot right now. This is very natural. Any game that launches at a very high value, like they peaked at 264K on just Steam alone, and generally, you know, it depends on the game, but loosely, if you wanted to look at numbers for console, generally PlayStation is about equal to PC, and Xbox is usually about equal or like 1.5x. So usually you can kind of estimate Xbox and PlayStation to be about equal to PC roundabouts, which means that you would triple this value. And so they got to around like 700K CCU on launch, including the consoles, in order to like make the game, which is massive. There are you could count the number of games that hit that with your fingers in general. So it's very, very large. And obviously games like that, especially games that are more treadmill style games, are going to rapidly drop people over time. So if we're looking at the last 3 months of the game, we can see that that has declined, but it's kind of steadied out over the last month or so at around 20 to 50K CCU on a regular basis on PC. Of course, we can't look at direct numbers for console, but I'm guessing console is about this or maybe even a little bit higher. The general retention on console tends to be slightly higher because people tend to, rather than playing everything on their PC, the people that play console regularly tend to like a game and stick to it, and they use it as their way to blow off steam after work, that sort of thing. So they tend to be a little bit more consistent on that audience. But right now, I would say that, with them hovering at 20 to 30K per day is a very stable number, very solid game, especially with so little content being introduced over the last 3 months of things that can be grinded. People have gotten through the core of the game and started moving on to other games while they wait for new stuff to come out. Even using as a comparison one of the most popular games right now, Path of Exile, you can see that over the last couple years, they peak with a season launch, and then at the end of the season, they get down to even lower numbers than First Descendant is right now. It's because people get through the season, they max out their character, they finish their build, they're done, they're waiting for new content, and then when the new season launches, they jump up again. So this is a long period of time. You can see that even some of the most popular games in the world have this exact situation because people get through the amount of PvE content that's available. They've managed all the mechanics, and they're done, and they're ready for new stuff to come out, which is where we're at right now for the First Descendant. And I would argue that the Season 1 content that launched at the end of August was also weak enough that it didn't really have a major impact on the people that were playing. I think most people that are still playing the game are either just min-maxing their builds, maxing out their resources, trying to find everything they can, getting the perfect reactors, getting all the weapons to 4 out of 4 upgraded so they can finalize their account and prepare for the next big update. And it wasn't really like a huge influx for Season 1. They were trying to get Haley or do the invasions, that sort of thing. So a lot is riding on the next update, October 10th, to be awesome with the new boss and all the new content coming in. And we can see this sentiment reflected on the poll that we did. People saying that they're losing the motivation to grind and play. say they accomplished or met all their goals that they had for the game, and there's nothing left for them to look for. Beat Gluttony, beat all the bosses, made all the builds for all the characters, and now they're just waiting. Now, if we go back to the roadmap that they showed a couple months ago, like early to mid-August, before we even had our season 1 update, even like in like June is when we started getting this for this kind of idea. So we've already gone through 2, or like basically like half of this so far. We got Luna, we got Gluttony, and we got Ultimate Valby with the new ultimate weapon, the Peacemaker, and we got some new content skins as well. This was, I think, a very good patch in general. People, you know, some people didn't like Luna, but in general, it is new content to grind. Then we got the first portion of season 1, which turned out to be just season progression, invasions on top of that. We got Haley, but we didn't get the new Descendant story. We didn't get the new Colossus, the new dungeon. We got 1 new weapon, and we got some new skins, but we didn't get Ultimate Freyna next. So that's kind of like what we're looking for right now. So what we're missing that's going to be happening on October 10th in just like 3 weeks now, just inside of 3 weeks, is we're going to be getting the new field completion. We're going to be getting the new Descendant story for Ultimate Freyna, as well as Ultimate Freyna. We're also getting the vendor, which is going to be really big. ETA is the name of the vendor, which I'm guessing is going to be robot. And this one, as far as we know, is going to be related to getting your blueprints that are excess converted into a currency, and then use that currency to unlock blueprints is all they've told us that they're going to give us for that. Now, hopefully there's more in there, like skins, cosmetics, that sort of thing. But as we know right now, confirmed is that you will be able to trade in blueprints to get blueprints, which might help you target farm things that you're missing. But the challenge is if that's all there is for that vendor, that's not really going to help the people that are very well progressed in the game and don't really need blueprints because they've had all this time leading up until the end of season 1 to finish all the blueprints they wanted. Then, of course, that means early December is the next update after October 10th, and this is going to be a mega dungeon, which brings a ton of questions on what that's going to be. They said a utility companion. This is very possible this is going to be a loot collecting buff bonus kind of pet that you can have with your character, like in Warframe or in Black Desert Online, those sort of things. And also have new season progression related to season 1's invasion mechanic, a new Descendant story, a new Colossus, a new dungeon, a new weapon, and a new Ultimate Descendant, all of this coming together as part of a process for season 2. Which I think brings up a great point from the interview that we saw a couple weeks ago on Inven with the producer and the director of the game. And I think this is something that we're gonna have to think about as we move forward for the game overall. They talked about how the game came out, they were very proud of it, but the Metacritic score was lower than they expected. They said from here, all plans went awry and they had no choice but to, you know, buckle up and try to get something done because they wanted to, you know, recover from that low Metacritic score. And I don't think that if you're watching this video, you're probably someone who does enjoy the First Descendant and doesn't worry about whatever score they have or review score they have. But they say that they are focused on creating the speed of content, which is what we're talking about in this video today. So why I'm now focused on increasing my basic stamina, what he means here, I believe, is that they're talking about being able to maintain a very steady pace of content coming out, that him, as well as the people that work at the studio there, focusing on bringing up a lot of content. Up until now, but somehow been pulling in and filling up the future content that I had planned and prepared, but there's no room to build up reserves. Like they're kind of flying by the seat of their pants. As soon as something's done, they ship it immediately, and there's no backlog. That's why the most important thing is to build up the stamina so that we can create reserves while maintaining an update speed that satisfies gamer needs. So what he's talking about right here is very common in game development, the ability to, you know, start nesting in updates, like start working on season 1, start working on season 2, start concepting season 3 so that you have a pipeline moving from place to place. So you have the things kind of in the backlog and you have your chambers to fire that you need to keep things moving. So it's not like you're kind of scrambling all throughout that. So it's very possible that from now until December, we'll be building up that backlog. And if the update coming on October 10th doesn't hit, it's very possible that we'd be waiting until December to see how season 2 is. He also mentions that the important thing is speed, the fastest possible changes, organic responses to feedback, and quick decision making, which I think they've demonstrated over the last couple months with their, you know, surprise hotfixes, Kingsguard Lance out of nowhere being buffed, reworks to weapons, reworks to characters, things that just brought stuff into the meta out of nowhere. And I think so far their live update service has been quite excellent. They've been keeping up with the meta, fixing problems, addressing things right away, and also giving us very surprise buffs that makes the content a lot more interesting, that gives us new meta changes. So as far as the update, we're going to have Deathstalker, and I think that there's going to be a lot of question of whether people come back to trying to hard progress Deathstalker. It seems like, based on the leaks, that we are actually going to get a pretty well involved. Like, Deathstalker is actually looking, based on the data mines that I've seen, going to be the hardest, most mechanically intense boss that we've seen so far. A lot of different things going on, like gluttony plus basically. Now, is that going to be something that keeps people engaged for a long period of time, or is it going to be something that drives people away because they simply just don't want to go through the party making process and matchmaking process of clearing Deathstalker? We're also going to have Ultimate Freyna as an option to unlock, hopefully some reworks for that as well, and some just general new content going into the game on top of it, as well as a new weapon on top of that as well, and possibly some new hard modes for the dungeons too, and then the vendor. But it's very possible that you're going to get the same situation that we had with the August 29th patch, and that it brought people back for 2-3 weeks. They burned through Haley, they got through the invasions, and now they're back on maintenance mode for that sort of thing. So let me know what you think. Is this something that you agree with? Are you kind of in the same point where you're just farming, or are you still just, you have plenty of stuff to farm and you're feeling really good about the First Descendant? And what do you think about the October 10th patch and what's riding on it right now? If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.